Time now for our royal masterminds, Lady Colin Campbell and Phil Dampier. And the litigious Prince Harry has decided to celebrate his father's recent coronation by launching legal action against Mirror Group newspapers over historic accusations of phone hacking. The court case, which will include a personal appearance from Harry next month, is expected to last 6 weeks. But just one day after the court started its hearing, documents are already proving revealing. According to his lawyer, Harry believes he lost his long-term ex-girlfriend Chelsea Davy due to unlawful press intrusion, with documents disclosing ultimately MGN's activities led Ms Davy to make the decision that a royal life was not for her. After years of dating, Britain was braced for an engagement announcement before the couple separated in 2010. And these latest revelations surely beg the question, was Chelsea Davy actually the true love of Prince Harry's life, his one who got away? So, Phil Dampier, you believe that, don't you? So how on earth will his wife Meghan feel about these courtroom bombshells?
Yeah, good evening, Dan. I truly believe that Chelsea was the great love of his life. I think they were ideally suited. They had a shared sense of humour. He was never happier than when he was in Africa with her, in South Africa or Botswana, on one of their many jaunts there. You know, she was the one who got away, I think. There's no doubt about it. So I don't think the phone hacking helped. But I don't think that was the reason that they split up. I just don't think that she wanted a royal life. I don't think Cressida Bonus wanted a royal life. They weren't cut out to be princesses. They made it last as long as they could, Chelsea and Harry, but it was never going to end up with a royal marriage. So I don't think it's going to affect the relationship with Meghan particularly. I mean, after all, she was married before, so you know, they both got a track record before them. I don't think that's going to affect them. But there's no doubt in my mind that he would have been much happier with Chelsea Davy, and of course we would have all been a lot happier as well, because he wouldn't have never met Meghan, and we wouldn't be where we are now, would we?
Yeah, and Chelsea would have been a lovely, respectable wife. Lady C, you've got to admit though, this is strange. Like, Meghan, for all of her faults, she's not constantly harping on about her ex-husband. She wants to erase him from history, which is actually the ordinary thing to do. Harry seems to want to talk about Chelsea Davy all the time, including in this court case.
Well, yes, of course, because you see, Harry's perpetually disaffected, and Harry also needs an excuse for why he is a failure and why his whole life has unravelled. But my understanding is that Chelsea Davy actually, not only did she not want a royal life, but ultimately she didn't want a life with Harry. And that is the decisive factor. And Harry he can't face the fact that it's not the papers that broke up his relationship with Chelsea Davy. It's that he didn't cut the mustard for her for the long term. And that's what broke up the relationship. Of course, he's not going to...
But he always wants to blame someone else, Lady C, and usually, if it's not his own family, it's the media.
Well, it's always somebody else but himself.
Yeah.
But that goes along with an inadequate personality can never admit that he is to blame. He has to buck past to everybody else. It's a classical sign of an inadequate personality.
Now, look, you may remember this former aide to both Prince William and Harry, and Meghan, actually, for a time, this guy called Jason Knauf, because he was accused of legal meddling in that calamitous couple's Netflix hit job back in January.
A senior member of the Duke of Cambridge's team came forward to give this witness statement, which wasn't required. And sadly, there's just no way he could have done that without the authority of his bosses.
But the accusations certainly haven't ruined the reputation of Mr Knauf, though. It was just yesterday he was made a Lieutenant of the Royal Victorian Order after being named in last year's New Year's Honours list to recognise his services to the royal family. But Phil, what is so fascinating about this is this bloke, Jason Knauf, is the man who described Meghan Markle as a bully. And there you have Prince William presenting him with the highest honour that a royal can give to a member of their staff. This is really interesting, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, well, they always get gongs, don't they, people who work for the Royals? I mean, the pay's very bad, but it looks good on your CV once you've done 5 years that you've worked at Buckingham Palace or you've worked at Kensington Palace. So that's the reason people do it, but the pay is absolutely terrible. So they give them gongs afterwards to make it a bit more worthwhile and possibly to make them shut up. I don't know. Jason Knauf's ever thought about writing a book. I didn't like him very much. I didn't find him terribly helpful. But he was popular with Harry to start with. But of course, then when he noticed the allegations of bullying and how many of his staff are unhappy working for her, then of course he changed his mind and the whole dynamic changed. And of course, the big mystery is the investigation into the bullying, which of course has been mysteriously shelved.
Indeed. And Lady C, this is Prince William making a real point, isn't it? This is a huge, I'm trying to think of a polite term, a huge fridge you to Harry and Meghan, because they hate this bloke Knauf. They hate him because he's the one who blew the whistle on all of Meghan Markle's bullying.
Well, what's really happened in my view is that the royal family has decided, since by law they are not allowed to reveal the contents of the inquiry, because that would violate the privacy and the confidentiality of the participants of the inquiry, which is perfectly standard across any corporate body, which the royal family in this instance is included in. They have decided that by elevating him to the extent that they have, they could have made him a member. They made him a lieutenant, which is tremendously senior. And it is really saying Meghan was a bully. And since we can't say it, and since we can't reveal the contents of the report, we are making the point that the person who revealed it is being honoured by us. It is a very elegant way of making the point.
Making the point. Indeed. A legal note, Lady C, because, you know, both sides of the story always here on GB News. Meghan has denied on multiple occasions bullying anyone. Elsewhere, the maiden...
So did Hitler.
Elsewhere, the maiden Chelsea star Millie McIntosh, moving swiftly along, may have more in common with the king than we just thought, because she has admitted too that she's been snubbed by Meghan Markle. This is during a fascinating podcast interview. Listen to this.
I took her to like my favourite spots, and she didn't know that many people, so I kind of connected her with loads of people from like best place to get your nails done, best, like my little black book. She told me about Harry and that they were messaging, and a friend had introduced them and they had been messaging. It all hit the press that Meghan and Harry were seeing each other. So I messaged her and just said like, hey, I hope you're okay. And she just sent me this really abrupt message. I never heard from her again. I felt like she'd kind of told me to just like off, basically. That message. My kind of instinct about why it happened at the time. You know, she's like, right, I'm going to be royal now. I don't need Millie in my life. I think I just wasn't useful anymore.
Lady C, that is the first time Millie McIntosh has spoken about her friendship with Meghan in public, and she's another one of those folk who was ghosted by Meghan. It says a lot, doesn't it, about the sort of person Meghan is?
Meghan is a classical opportunist who goes through life erasing everybody who she thinks is no longer convenient. And it's a really stupid way of functioning, because you create enemies where there is no necessity to create enemies. It is just stupid. But this is the way she functions, and it shows that she is basically a very debased personality, because if she wasn't, she wouldn't behave so commonly and vulgarly and in such an inelegant and really unethical manner.
Yeah, well, indeed, because no, you don't treat people like that. Because Phil, look, Millie McIntosh has said nothing until now. It was almost like, oh, now that I'm going to be entering the royal family, or I'm dating a member of the royal family, you're not good enough for me.
Well, I'm going to show my age and my ignorance, Dan. I don't know much about Millie McIntosh, but she mustn't be upset, because, let's be honest, she's joining a very long list, isn't she? Her first husband, Trevor Eggleston, he was cancelled. Her father's been cancelled. Her half-brother and sister have been cancelled. The royal family have been cancelled. Jessica Mulroney's been cancelled. It's a long, long list, so she mustn't be upset. And I think probably a few more are going to be added to it.